Millionaire arrives home early and discovers an incredible life-changing surprise from his kids. Jack Mitchell stood in the rain-soaked parking lot of his gray corporate office, staring at the gray sky, feeling fury and despair. He shuffled toward his car, every droplet hammering into him like a reminder of the busy day ahead. The promotion he thought would bring his family happiness had become a heavy chain, the weight almost suffocating. Was this what success looked like? Climbing higher while the ones he loved stayed below, waiting in silence? His heart raced with an uncharacteristic urge to escape that confined space of ambition. A sudden rebellious spark ignited within him. Today he would leave early as Jack pulled into the driveway of their house in Willow Creek. Warmth washed over him from memories of family dinners and laughter echoing in the halls. But tonight something felt different. The lights danced into the corners of the driveway, throwing shadows against the backdrop of the evening sky. Curious about the strange hustle and bustle inside, he stepped into the fragrant home, only to be hit by a wave of jubilation. Surprise! The cheerful chorus erupted around him. Balloons bobbed along the ceiling as Jack tried to absorb the handsomely decorated living room, a place filled with his family and their friends, laughter bubbling over like champagne. His eyes were drawn to the radiant faces of his children Emma and Lucas, whose smiles shone brighter than any light in the room. But amidst the jubilee, a shadow flickered in Jack's heart as he caught the lingering absence behind their glee. Emma, clutching a handmade letter to her chest, stepped forward, her tiny hands trembling slightly. "Daddy, this is for you," she said softly. Her voice soaked in a cocktail of disbelief and hope. Jack's heart sank. He hesitated before opening the threadbare envelope, a well of emotions swirling within. Each word on the pages painted a haunting picture. Cherished moments missed, birthdays hurried through, empty chairs at school plays, all filled with the love Jack had unknowingly taken for granted to chase the ghost of success. The once unfathomable sadness surged within him. "Why are you sad, Daddy?" Lucas asked, tugging gently at his trousers. Jack's mind reeled. The juxtaposition of the roaring party against the stillness he felt inside. As his family's quiet pain unfolded, he became acutely aware of what had he sacrificed on the altar of ambition. The affectionate warmth of his family regarded him with longing. Yet he stood paralyzed, caught between two worlds, one of corporate victories and the other filled with fleeting moments of love. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the commotion swirled around him, a sudden stillness enveloped Jack. Tears blurred his vision as he surveyed the sea of love and laughter before him. Each moment rang with truth and clarity. Could he bridge the gaping chasm between unyielding ambition and unconditional love? Was it too late to reshape his world? Jack stood leaning into the unshakable realization. Wealth was empty if it cost him the very essence of his family. Caught in this moment of reckoning, would he take the leap to reconnect? Or would he retreat into the well-worn familiarity of ambition? In those hushed seconds, his heart raced with uncertainty, even as the laughter surrounded him, an unyielding call to embrace a love that had been waiting patiently for him to return. The decision loomed, heavier than any boardroom deal, leaving Jack standing at the edge of a choice that could forever change the course of their lives. Jack swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat as he looked down at his children. They needed him not just as a provider but as a father, a guiding light in their lives. The realization crashed over him like cold water. He had been blind to their needs while chasing numbers and promotions. In that moment he had a choice to make, a chance to reclaim what really mattered. "Daddy?" Emma ventured again, her eyes wide and glimmering with fear, unsure of his reaction. Jack knelt down, their eye levels matching. The warm glow of the room dimmed to a soft spotlight just for them, the laughter fading to a distant hum. "I'm sorry," he whispered, the words spilling out of him like a floodgate opening. "I never meant to make you feel like I didn't take care." Emma shook her head. "We know you work hard. We just want you home more. That's all." Her small fist gripped the letter tightly, as if holding on to their dreams and everything written on that page. Jack could hardly bear the weight of her words. I promise I'm going to change, he replied, his voice breaking ever so slightly. The resolve settled over him, warming him against the chill of doubt. I'll be here for our family. I'll be more present. Lucas beamed, his cheeks flushing with joy. Can we play board games tonight? He asked, bouncing on his heels, blissfully unaware of the emotional turmoil just a moment before. The simple request struck Jack, highlighting the beauty in small moments, a stark contrast to the endless meetings and conference calls that had become his norm. Absolutely. Jack couldn't help but smile back, his heart lifting at the thought of sitting on the living room floor, the chaos of pieces scattered around him instead of numbers on spreadsheets. The fog over his heart began to lift, a lightness creeping in. Suddenly the room erupted in cheers as his family, inspired by his heartfelt moment, rushed forward, wrapping him in a group hug. Laughter bounced from the walls as Jack felt their warmth surround him, tightening around his chest in a way that felt right. This was what he had craved all along. Look, Emma exclaimed, pulling away to point. We got cake. The colorful frosting beamed under the warm lights as everyone turned to admire the centerpiece of their celebration. What flavor? Jack asked, shifting his attention as the delight of the moment wrapped around him. Chocolate, your favorite. Lucas yelled, dashing to the table. Jack felt a rush of gratitude flood through him. This was the bliss he had overlooked, hiding behind the coat of ambition. He clasped Emma's small hand in his, feeling her pulse bloom under his touch. Today was the start of something new, a deeper connection, a promise to invest in love, rather than accolades. As everyone settled around the table, the night unfolded into joyous banter and playful shouts, laughter intertwining with each slice of cake. Jack couldn't shake a lingering thought, though. What would it take to maintain this newfound commitment when work called his name again? Could he resist the mounting pressures of his career, or would he be pulled back into the whirlwind of ambition? With that uncertainty, he looked around the table, took a deep breath and made a silent vow. More than the job, more than the money, he would choose to fight for this happiness. But as the first forkful of chocolate cake met his tongue, he wondered, could this be enough to keep him grounded when the world outside threatened to sweep him away? Jack savored the sweet chocolate melting on his tongue, letting it wash over him like a comforting wave. Emma and Lucas's laughter echoed around the table, creating a harmonious sound that filled his heart. Each giggle felt like a reminder of what he had almost lost, a melody that played against the backdrop of his earlier despair. He couldn't believe how different this moment felt, so vibrant and alive. Let us make a new tradition, he suggested, his voice brightening the room. Every Friday we have a family game night. No work, no distractions. Yes, family game night, Emma shouted, her face lighting up. Lucas raised his hands in victory, completely on board with the idea. They dove into cake and laughter, and for a while all worries melted away. But as the shards of joy settled in, the weight of what he had promised felt heavier than ever. How would he truly balance his ambitions with his family? The thought nudged at him as they washed down cake with glasses of milk, the happy banter continuing unabated. After a time, the children tired themselves out, sprawling on the living room rug, eyes half closed from the sugar rush. Jack felt a warmth unfurl in his chest as he watched them, souls at peace. Maybe this was enough, he mused. Yet, that vision of happiness dimmed just a hint as his phone buzzed from the table, an incoming email notification. The screen lit up, flashing the company logo, and with it the familiar pull of duty. He bit his lip, torn between staying in this blissful moment and the demands that would surely drag him away. Daddy, can you play with us? Emma murmured, her voice a sleepy whisper that tugged at his heart. He looked down at her, curls framing that sweet, innocent face, and knew he couldn't be the father who chose work over them again. Of course, he said, reaching down to tousle her hair gently. They shifted and reorganized the board game pieces, the air crackling with anticipation. Lucas grabbed a stack of colorful cards and dumped them into the center. You're going down, Dad, he teased, his confidence radiating through his sleepiness. Oh, is that a challenge? Jack joked back, his heart swelling with pride. It felt good to banter, rejuvenating his spirit in a way he hadn't experienced in years. But just as Jack leaned in, eager to engage, his phone buzzed again, this time more insistent. With a heavy sigh, he glanced at the screen. 1 minute, he said, standing up to grab the phone and peek at the email. He scanned the subject line. It was a promotion announcement, his name etched among others, promising consideration for a top role in the company. Excitement mixed with dread. This was a validation of all his hard work, but at what cost? The kids would probably notice his absence again. "Daddy," Emma called, breaking into his spiraling thoughts, "we need you." The plea struck him squarely in the chest, a reminder of who he wanted to be. He turned back to his children with resolve, ready to make a stand. "You know what? This email can wait," he declared, tossing the phone onto the couch like it was a hot potato. Jack felt the tension leave his shoulders as laughter washed over him, a renewed sense of purpose edging in. It didn't matter what promises the world outside made. He was right here, right now. Just as the game began, the doorbell chimed. A slight pause settled over the room as curiosity replaced the warmth of unity. "Who could that be?" Lucas asked, peeking over at Jack. A flood of unease rolled back into Jack's stomach. He hadn't planned for any visitors, and an imposing thought crossed his mind. What if it was someone from work? "Stay here, I'll check," he said, feigning confidence, though uncertainty crawled through him. As he approached the door, he took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever came next. His heart raced. The night had been so perfect, what could possibly disrupt it now? When he finally opened the door, the surprise waiting outside changed everything he thought he knew about being a father. And just like that, all he had fought for could be threatened yet again. Jack hesitated for a split second, his heart pounding. Standing on the doorstep was a familiar face, but one he hadn't seen in years. It was James, an old colleague from his banking days, and he didn't come alone. "Jack." James beamed, his manicured hands lifting in an exaggerated wave. "I didn't expect to find you here, buddy. We've got a surprise." "James," Jack stammered, confused and nervous. "What are you doing here?" He knew James was still deep in the corporate world, climbing the very ladder Jack had stepped away from. "Come on in." Jack stepped aside, trying to shake off the sense of foreboding that crept along his spine. The last thing he wanted was to let work into this serene moment with his kids. James stepped in, eyes darting around, taking in the mess of toys and the remnants of family game night. "Wow, looks like you've got quite the gig going on here. Family must come first now, huh?" "Absolutely," Jack replied, forcing a smile. He could feel Emma and Lucas' sleepy curiosity boiling over. They shuffled up behind him, eyes wide. "What's the surprise, Daddy?" Emma asked. Jack glanced back at them as James grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. "Well, kids, your dad's been doing some amazing things. We're about to celebrate that." "Isn't that right, Jack?" "What do you mean?" Jack's voice trembled slightly, bewildered. Family fun nights were all he wanted right now. Was he about to get pulled back into the world he'd tried to escape? James leaned in, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "We're thinking about a big investment, Jack. Could change everything. We need someone with your insight, and I think you'd do great. You'd be working remotely most of the time. You'd have more flexibility." Jack cut him off, the gentle magic of the evening fading. "James, this isn't the time. I really appreciate the thought, but wait, what's the matter?" James asked, a flicker of concern passing over his face. "Is it the kids? You can have it all, man. You can still be a great dad and leap back into the game. This could be your big break." While Jack's heart was still racing, he felt a swell of anger at the notion that he had to choose between providing for his family and being there for them. "No, you don't understand," he said, forcing himself to stay calm. "I want to be here for them. I'm trying to build something different, something meaningful. And this could help you do that." James countered, his enthusiasm unabated. The kids exchanged glances, sensing the tension in their dad's voice. Lucas chimed in, "We don't want you to leave us again." Jack's heart sank. The kids were still half asleep, yet they held such clarity in their declarations. He inhaled deeply, ready to stand firm in his conviction when James suddenly took a step back. All right, let us just take a breather," James said, backing away slightly with hands up. The warmth of tension hung in the air like a storm cloud, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that everything was at stake. Before he could respond, Emma reached out, tugging at his sleeve. "Daddy, please don't go. We like game nights." Jack knelt down, pulling her close, realizing just how precarious their world felt at that moment. "Listen, kids, I'm right here. Nothing is going to change that. Promise." But as he looked back at James, who had adopted a more serious expression, Jack felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. The opportunity to get back in the game was tantalizing, yet he knew it might pull him away from everything he cherished. Jack, think about it, James pressed, urgency threading through his tone. You don't want to miss this. A chance like this could bring everything back to where it was. The door swung open wider, and the wind carried with it the sound of laughter from the street outside, playful and carefree, a sharp contrast to the bubbling tension inside. Jack was struck between two worlds, and just as he was about to make a choice, a voice suddenly interrupted from behind him. "Who's at the door, Dad?" Jack glanced back, and the surprise waiting in the shadows stepped into view, raising a hand to wave. In that moment, Jack realized he might just be losing sight of what mattered most. The crossroads of his life stood before him, and the path ahead wasn't as clear as it once seemed. What would he choose, and would it cost him everything he had fought for? The figure stepping into the doorway was Jenna, Jack's wife. She was wearing an apron, a smudge of flour dusting her cheek, and her hair pulled back in a haphazard bun. The warm glow of the kitchen lights framed her, making her look every bit the heart of their home. "James!" she exclaimed, a blend of surprise and delight coloring her voice. "It's been ages." Jack felt a surge of relief wash over him at her presence. She walked closer, her smile radiating kindness. The tension in the air seemed to dissipate a bit, yet Jack could still sense the storm brewing beneath James' enthusiasm. "Jenna, great to see you," James responded, but Jack caught a flicker of unease in his eyes. James was a glass-half-full type, but even he could feel the awkwardness of the moment. "Everything okay?" Jenna asked, glancing between the two men, picking up on the lingering strain. "Just discussing some old times," Jack said too quickly, feeling the need to reassure her. "James has been catching me up on work stuff." "Work stuff?" Jenna echoed, raising an eyebrow. "You know Jack is happy doing his own thing now." Jenna's words were like a shield, but Jack couldn't help feeling cornered. James cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation back to more familiar waters. "Actually, I wanted to talk to Jack about an investment opportunity that could use his talents," he said, forcing a smile. "Investment, huh?" Jenna's tone darkened, but she remained composed. "And how many late nights would this require? Because if it means pulling Jack away from family dinner, we're not interested." James waved his hands, almost desperate. No, it's a flexible gig. I mean, you've got to trust me on this one. A chance like this for Jack doesn't come around often. It would be just like old times." Jack felt a surge of irritation at James. Old times were what he had fought to leave behind. He opened his mouth to voice this, but Emma's small voice interrupted once more. "Can we have dessert now, Mommy?" Jenna chuckled softly and ruffled Emma's hair. "Of course. After we finish a quick cleanup." Lucas beamed. "Awesome. I want ice cream." "Hey, let us all help, okay?" Jack suggested, eager to pull the family back into this shared moment. He could see the worry in Jenna's eyes as she continued subtly analyzing the situation. James chuckled, returning to lighter banter. "Looks like your kids are pros at asking for snacks. Nothing changes, huh?" Suddenly, Jenna turned serious. "Jack, honey, if this is what you really want to do," Jack felt the weight of her words. She was offering him a choice, understanding the pull of ambition that lingered in his heart. Was it worth the cost? He had to answer to himself. He had to protect what he had built with them. "James," he finally said, locking eyes with him, "I appreciate the offer, really. But I'm not interested in returning to that world. Not right now." James' expression flickered, disappointment and concern blending. "You're making a mistake, Jack. Just think about it." Jack shook his head gently. "I've thought about it, and I'm choosing family." Just then, Lucas tugged at Jack's pants, eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Daddy, can we tell James about our surprise now?" Jack's heart warmed at the delight in Lucas's voice. "What surprise?" Emma jumped in. "Yeah, the one we've been planning for days." Jenna smiled, her cheeks flushing with pride. "I think it's time for a little presentation, don't you?" James' confusion deepened. "Presentation? Surprise!" The kids shouted, their little voices bubbling with excitement. Jack knelt down, his curiosity piqued. "All right, what's this all about?" Lucas and Emma exchanged wide-eyed glances, bubbling with secrets. As they hurried to the table, Jack's heart raced in anticipation. Whatever it was, He sensed it would pull him deeper into this life he cherished. Will it be something good? He joked, nudging Lucas gently with his knee. Better than good. Emma squealed, her excitement somehow infectious. In that moment the world outside faded away. Jack looked at Jenna, who was beaming her support unwavering. No matter what happened next, he would never take for granted this moment, the lightness, the laughter, the kind of treasure that money couldn't. He felt James watching, the tension still lingering, an unsaid understanding forming. As the kids unveiled their surprise, Jack knew he stood on a precipice, a decision marking the beginning of a new path altogether. Would it be one of ambition or deeper family bonds? The look on Jenna's face told him that whatever lay ahead was worth every heartbeat. But as Lucas pulled out the makeshift banner they had crafted, Jack's phone buzzed, lighting up with an unknown caller. His heart sank as he reached for it, not knowing that the choice he made, whether for ambition or family, was about to get more complicated than ever. Jack hesitated, staring at the screen, the unknown number burning in his hand. The sound of laughter around him faded, almost like muffled echoes in a distant room. Jenna turned, sensing the sudden shift. "Who is it?" she asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "I don't know," he replied, the weight of uncertainty pressing down. The kids were crowded around the table, waiting to reveal their surprise, eyes wide and shining with joy. But his own heart thudded with a mix of apprehension and dread. "Maybe it's just someone trying to sell you something," Jenna offered, trying to lighten the mood. She reached out, reassuring him with a gentle squeeze on his arm. But the tightening in his chest felt too heavy to brush off. James shifted awkwardly, the light banter trailing off as he sensed the shift in Jack's mood. Jack took a steadying breath and finally answered the call, feeling a rush of heat rise to his cheeks. "Hello?" A moment of silence hung in the air. Then a voice crackled through, sharp and clear. "Jack? It's Sarah from the investment firm. We need to talk." His stomach dropped. Sarah was not just any contact, she was pivotal in his past life, the one he fought so hard to leave behind. The room around him faded into a blur as vague memories flooded back, filling the gap with what-ifs and could-have-beens. "About what?" he managed, his voice steady but thick with apprehension. "About that opportunity you turned down yesterday," she replied, voice firm. "I think you need to reconsider. The stakes are changing, and it's bigger than just investment. It's a chance for something revolutionary." As the words washed over him, Jack stole a quick glance at Jenna, whose face brimmed with concern, the banter with the kids slipping into silence. The whole world felt poised, a delicate balance of past ambitions poised against present joys. "Sarah, I just think it over, Jack. It's not every day you're presented with the potential to change the game." Before he could respond, she hung up. Jack remained rooted, caught between two realities, the vibrant chaos of his family and the polished allure of opportunity, shimmering temptations wrapped in golden promises. "Daddy?" Lucas's voice broke through. Jack's eyes met his son's, now searching and innocent. "Can we show you our surprise now?" His heart swelled momentarily, and he shifted his focus back to the children. "Yeah, of course. Let us see what you've got." As the kids rushed to unveil their creation, Jack smiled, but a lingering tension simmered just beneath the surface. Emma unveiled a colorful banner that read, "Welcome home, Daddy. We love you." The delight on their faces was infectious. Jenna clasped her hands together, beams of warmth illuminating her features as she cheered. "That's so beautiful, you too." Jack crouched to their level, his heart swelling with pride. "This is amazing. You both did such a great job." Jenna knelt beside him, the bond of their family shimmering. Yet the echoes of Sarah's call lingered, whispering doubts against the joy surrounding him. "Jack?" Jenna's voice broke through his thoughts, and he turned to her, searching her eyes for more than just excitement. Her gaze bore into him. "Are you really okay? You seem somewhere else." He forced a smile, but it didn't quite reach his heart. "Just thinking about some stuff." "About James?" she asked softly, tilting her head. "Not just that," he replied, knowing they were grasping at more than surface concerns. A silence hung between them, each of them weighing their own thoughts and unspoken fears. The laughter and joy of the kids reverberated around them, a stark contrast to the complexity of Jack's spiraling choices. Could he really turn his back on a golden opportunity? And at what cost? The moment stretched, a delicate dance between desire and duty. Jack felt as though he were standing at a crossroads, the path behind him familiar yet limited, the way ahead shrouded in uncertainty. But as Jenna pulled him closer, enveloped by their children's laughter, he could feel the warmth of family drawing him back, igniting an affection deep within. Maybe I'm more than just my past, he mused softly, but even he could feel the weight of the turning tide. With those unspilled thoughts swirling within, another message pinged on his phone. He glanced down just as he felt Jenna lean against him. His heart raced again, unsure of what else awaited him in the momentous decision ahead. Why did these crossroads always feel so complicated? As he opened the text he read, "We need to meet soon. Change is coming." In that hefty instant Jack realized that every moment, every choice he made had led to this very point. Deep down a storm was brewing, ready to unleash its fury. But would he weather it or would it sweep him away? What awaited him next would decide everything. Jack felt the weight of the text hanging over him like a dark cloud. "We need to meet soon. Change is coming." He instinctively tucked his phone away, but the words echoed in his mind, heavy and foreboding. "Daddy, can we have ice cream now?" Lucas asked, his innocent voice a high-pitched plea that brought Jack's attention back to the colorful chaos of the living room. "Yeah, ice cream," Emma joined, bouncing on her toes, her earlier excitement rekindled. Jack threw a quick glance at Jenna, who stood there, hands on her hips, a questioning light in her eyes. "Sure. Ice cream it is." He feigned enthusiasm, pushing the dark thoughts aside. The kids squealed with delight and surged toward the kitchen, leaving Jack momentarily lost in the comforting madness of parenting. As he followed them, he felt Jenna fall into step beside him. "You sure you're all right?" she murmured quietly, concern lacing her voice. He glanced sideways, trying to muster a reassuring smile. "Honestly, I'm trying to be." She reached out, her hand brushing against his. It was a simple gesture, grounding him in the present. "You know you can talk to me, right? About anything." He nodded, but his heart felt heavy. How could he explain the tempest brewing inside? The thrill of a second chance fighting against the warmth of the life he built, one filled with laughter, love, and the innocent joy flickering in the eyes of his children. In the kitchen, the kids clamored for their favorite ice cream flavors, tugging at the freezer door. Jack leaned against the counter, watching them as they bickered playfully over sprinkles and whipped cream. It should have been a scene of pure happiness, but his mind wandered back to Sarah and the call that set his heart racing. "Can we have chocolate syrup too?" Lucas asked, looking up at Jack with wide, hopeful eyes. "Of course, buddy. You're the boss today," he said, trying to channel his focus back to the little pleasures, but the lingering shadows wouldn't dissipate. "Are you feeling okay, Daddy?" Emma's voice broke through his thoughts again, less certain this time, as she twisted her hair between her fingers. "Yeah, sweetie, just a lot on my mind," he replied, forcing a grin. As they filled their bowls with ice cream, laughter bounced against the kitchen walls. "You two are going to be a sugar rush by bedtime," Jenna teased, her eyes dancing with affection. Jack felt a flicker of warmth light up his chest. "I might join them," he joked back, although he knew that the remnants of his grown-up worries, the realities of life decisions, wouldn't let him indulge just yet. The ice cream parlor magic bound them in a sweet moment, with sticky fingers and melted smiles. Yet, as the kids kicked back in their chairs devouring their treats, Jack found it hard to enjoy. Each laughter felt out of reach, as if he was listening from behind a glass wall. The vision of Sarah's firm confidence echoed, coaxing him back into the world he nearly left behind. "Can you hand me the sprinkles?" Emma piped up, breaking the spell. Jack leaned over, grabbing the tiny jar. His fingers brushed hers, and he couldn't help but notice how simple moments like this grounded him. "Daddy, look at mine. It's a tower," Lucas exclaimed, holding his layered creation high. "That's impressive," Jack said, a genuine smile finally breaking through, even as the edges of his joy remained tinged with uncertainty. His phone buzzed again, another reminder of the decision looming. Just before he could check, Jenna's soft voice pulled at the corner of his mind. "Jack, we should talk later. About everything." He nodded, realizing they needed to carve out that time amid the fun chaos. But he also feared what that conversation might reveal. Would they face the future together, or would his past pull him away? As the kids laughed, their voices bubbling together like the sweet ice cream in their bowls, A deeper question loomed over him. If it came down to it, which life would he choose? Jack could feel the uncertainty swirling within, and as the laughter enveloped him, he knew that change hovered just out of reach. What if he was about to step back into the storm of his past? Or worse, what if he lost everything he had built for this? The moment stretched, and just like that, another notification pinged on his phone. The thrill of the unknown surged through him once more. Meet me at the old park tomorrow. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he glanced at Jenna and their kids, lost in their own world. The path ahead felt more daunting than ever. Could he really ignore the call of opportunity, or would he risk it all for a second chance? He took a breath, reminding himself that tomorrow would hold the answers. But deep down he feared changes were always closer than they seemed. Would he take the leap, or would he find a way to keep his family together? What lay ahead was uncertain, but the pull from both sides felt impossibly strong. The day crept on, heavy with the weight of unspoken words and secret decisions. After the kids had gone to bed, Jack found himself staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with the possibilities of the meeting at the park. Jenna's soft breathing beside him was a reminder of what he had. The warmth of her presence soothed him, but the turmoil inside felt like a storm. Why does it have to be like this? He whispered into the darkness. Looming over him was the tension between the life he loved and the whisper of dreams left unfulfilled. He closed his eyes, trying to picture his future. Was he brave enough to change the course of his life, to take risks that could either splinter his family or bring them closer? The morning came, gray and dreary, as if the weather sensed his conflict. Jack dropped his phone into his pocket and kissed the kids goodbye, swirling with guilt and excitement. "Be good for Mom," he said, ruffling Lucas's hair and leaning down to Emma's level. "I love you both." "We love you too, Daddy," they shouted, their voices chasing him out the door, filling the space with joy that felt far too stark against the weight on his shoulders. As Jack drove to the park, doubt knotted deep in his stomach. Every red light felt like a ticking clock, warning him that his time to decide was dwindling. He rolled down the window, allowing the cool air to flow in, hoping it would clear his thoughts, but it didn't ease the pressure building inside. Once at the park, Jack parked in a corner, watching the leaves whisper in the wind. The place felt like a memory. It had been their favorite spot for picnics, laughter echoing in the air, its vibrancy a stark contrast to the uncertainty that now surrounded him. He stepped out and leaned against the car, taking a deep breath. The flutter of butterflies in his stomach mixed with the smooth tug of nostalgia. Would Sarah be here soon? Why had she reached out to him after all this time? What could possibly make her come back into his life? As minutes dragged on, his apprehension morphed into anticipation. Then he spotted her, Sarah, walking towards him, confidence radiating from her every step, her familiar smile a lighthouse guiding him through the fog of his emotions. "Jack?" she greeted, and the softness of her voice pulled him back into a time when their connection hadn't felt so complicated. "Sarah," he managed, caught between relief and confusion. What did she want? "I didn't expect you," "Yeah," she said, a hint of nervousness slipping into her bold demeanor. "I know, but we need to talk." Her expression shifted slightly, revealing something deeper. A sense of urgency lined with sincerity. Jack felt his heart race. "About what?" he asked softly, his voice trembling under the weight of the two futures that hung in the balance. "About us," she replied, her eyes locking onto his with trembling clarity. "And about how far we've both come." As the wind rustled between them, Jack's mind spiraled. The memories of their shared past tugged at him, entwined with the vivid love he had for Jenna and their kids. Torn between two worlds, he knew he had to tread carefully. The wrong step could bring everything he loved crashing down. "Jack, I want to explain everything," Sarah continued, stepping closer, urgent and intense. "You need to know why I left and what that means for us, for you now." His heart pounded in his chest. This was the moment he had been dreading and yet yearning for. The moment of truth hung thick in the air, but would the revelation draw him back into a tempest or set him free? As he stood there, paralyzed by choice, he realized he needed to answer a question that could change everything. How much was he willing to risk for a second chance? The sound of a child laughing nearby, a reminder of everything he held dear, suddenly echoed in his ears. "Jack, you need to decide," Sarah urged, holding her breath, waiting for his response. And with her words drifting in the space between them, he felt the world tip on its axis. ready to spin out of control. What would he choose? A path into the unknown or the familiar embrace of the life he had built? The answer lay on the edge of his tongue, but fear kept it locked away. The clock was ticking. Would he step into the light or retreat into the shadows? Tomorrow's decisions always felt like they belonged to the future, but today that choice was his to make. Jack took a deep breath, drawing in the cool autumn air, the scent of damp leaves mingling with uncertainty. He looked into Sarah's eyes, searching for answers but finding only a mirror reflecting his own turmoil. There was a time when that gaze had filled him with something beautiful, promise, passion, but now it felt like a tempest he wasn't sure he was ready to face. Sarah, he started, his voice wavering as though he were trying to talk through a thick fog. Memories surged, their laughter, their dreams, but mingled with his new life that was grounded in the mundane yet comforting rhythm of family. Just hear me out, Sarah urged, her intensity sharpening his focus. There is so much I owe you, so much that has changed. Okay, he said reluctantly, not completely understanding the weight of the moment but knowing he had to listen. Let us talk. The two of them began to walk slowly along the path, and as they moved, the sounds of children playing echoed around them. Jack felt the distance between him and his life increase with every step away from his car. It wasn't just the physical separation. It felt like an emotional unraveling. The park was alive, vibrant, and entirely at odds with how small and uncertain he felt. I never stopped thinking about you, Jack, Sarah confessed, her voice almost a whisper. After I left, I thought about everything, the life we could have had where I made the wrong choice. But I had to be sure I was doing the right thing for both of us. He tilted his head and stared at her, trying to read her honesty in the play of her features. And you think now is the right time to say this? After all these years? Maybe it's never the right time. But I got tired of running away from my past. She glanced away, eyes glistening with unshed tears. If I hadn't left, maybe things would have been different. Took a long time for me to realize that. Jack felt anger flare inside him, quickly followed by guilt. In that moment he thought of Jenna, her laughter, her easy smile, the warmth of her arms around him. He couldn't allow the unraveling of his past to jeopardize the sanctity of his present. So what do you want, Sarah? He asked, the edge of frustration creeping into his voice. Do you expect me to just drop everything and what? Live in the past? No, I don't want to ruin what you have, she exclaimed, her desperation palpable. But I want you to know that you're not just a chapter in my life, Jack. You've always been a part of my story. He stopped walking, the weight of her words pressing down on him. The laughter of children drifted closer, jolting him back to reality. Here he was, poised on the precipice of an emotional cliff, wanting to leap into the safety of familiar, but being lured by the thrill of the unknown. You should know that I'm happy now, he finally replied, voice steadying as he felt the tension settle in. I love my life, my family. I can't just forget that. Then don't forget it, she said fiercely, stepping closer. Use it. I know we can't rewrite history, but what if you just consider the possibilities? As she met his gaze, hope flickered in her eyes, and Jack felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. He was standing at a crossroads, each path leading to a very different future. The air crackled with an unspoken tension, thickening every word, every breath they took. His phone buzzed in his pocket, suddenly pulling him back to the reality of his life. He glanced down, an alarm reminding him to check in with Jenna. His heart sank further. Sarah. Before he could finish, he heard the unmistakable laughter of his children spilling into the air again, unfiltered joy, innocent and pure, tugging at him with its familiar melody. The reminder of all he wanted and all that was at stake. In that split second of choosing between two worlds, he could feel the ground beneath him shift. Would he follow the echoes of the past or anchor himself in the present? Jack, come on. Let us play. Lucas' voice rang out again, filled with an urgency that shot through him. The choice loomed ahead like a shadow in the distance. How would he balance what was with what could be? As he looked back at Sarah, he realized the decision would fall on him alone. One step could lead him away from everything he knew and loved. But was he ready to walk away from the idea of what could have been? Jack, Sarah said softly, what happens next is up to you. His heart pounded in response. The moment of truth was here, and whatever choice he made would define the path ahead. Would he answer the call of the past, Or would he stand firm in the light of the present? In that charged air. He grasped for an answer. But as he gazed into Sarah's eyes, he knew the stakes had never been this high. What would that answer be? Jack stood at the park, heart racing, conflict stealing his breath away. He searched Sarah's eyes for clarity, but found only echoes of a life he once cherished. You really want me to just consider? He asked, a hint of disbelief creeping into his voice. Consider what this could mean for both of us, Jack, she implored, stepping closer, her expression pleading. I've made mistakes and I know our history is complicated. But I'm asking you to see the bigger picture. What if we could create something new? Jack recoiled slightly. Something new? The gravity of her words pressured down on him. You mean after all this time you want me to just forget what I have? Forget Jenna? Forget my kids? Not forget. My God, Jack. It's not about erasing anyone. It's about acknowledging that our lives intersected for a reason. It's about acknowledging the feelings we once had, she replied, her voice thick with emotion. But I know the choice is yours. He turned away, wrestling with the warmth of memories flooding his mind, shared laughter, dreams dashed in the wind, and the glaring contrast of laughter from the children filling the park. What you're asking me to do is impossible, he whispered, fear knotting his stomach. Jack felt a sudden rush of clarity, the kind that cuts through doubts like sun breaking through storm clouds. He chose his family. He had chosen them time and time again, and it was never a choice made in haste. I can't go back, Sarah, he finally said, forcing the words through a lump in his throat. I've built a life where love is alive and cherished. I can't let you pull me into the shadows of a past life. Not when the light of who I am now shines so brightly. She stood silent, the acknowledgement of his choice hanging heavily in the air. What if it's not about choosing one over the other? What if it's about understanding that we all have our paths? No, he shook his head, resolute. After everything, I've finally found my place. I'm not perfect, but I'm committed to my family. I will not sacrifice what I have fought for. My children need me. Jenna needs me. In that moment, with the sun breaking through the clouds above, he felt the magnetic pull of his children's laughter wrap around him like a warm embrace. They were waiting, calling to him. The choice became clearer. It was not a battle of want but a defense of love. Jack stepped back, feeling a weight lifted. I wish you all the best, but this is goodbye, he said, his heart heavy yet determined. The decision clarified the air between them. I understand, Sarah said softly, pain mingling with acceptance in her voice. But know that I have always cared for you. I'm just sorry it took this to realize it. She turned to leave, and as Jack watched her walk away, he felt peace settle within him. It was time to return home, to where his heart truly belonged. With purposeful strides, he made his way back to the car, his heart now aflame with love for the family waiting for him. As he drove through the winding streets filled with vibrant foliage, joy bubbled within him like a cool mountain spring. When he returned home, the familiar sounds of cheers filled the air. Emma and Lucas raced toward him, arms outstretched. Daddy, we saved you cake. He swept them up in a bear hug, the scent of home wrapping around him. You're both the best. Can't believe I almost missed out. Jenna stepped in, her eyes twinkling. Everything okay? You seem different. It is Jenna. I made a decision that changed everything for the better. The warmth in her smile melted all concern away. He felt whole again. Let us celebrate family game night like we've never celebrated before. Yes, let us. The kids cheered, gathering their game pieces with eager hands as they settled around the table. Laughter surrounded them, laughter that danced in the air, warm and inviting. Jack hemmed to speak but found that words weren't needed. This was the life he fought for, and choice is never really a choice at all when love is the guiding light. He leaned his heart into a moment of gratitude, grateful for the chance to reconnect with what truly mattered, grateful for the realization that family was where his future shone brightest, and the here and now. All that existed was a sweet life filled with laughter, with hope, with love. And in every board game, every slice of cake, Jack felt the tender embrace of belonging wrap him up. It was indeed a new beginning, full of promise and endless love. So, if you want to witness more journeys like Jack's, subscribe immediately to this channel. This is the moment to show your support for stories that transform lives. Leave a like now to fatigue the algorithm and see more heartwarming tales. Comment below to share your feelings about Jack's decision and the joy of family love. And remember, Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. They'll thank you later. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting through action.